Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors with the Miami Heat are currently heating up, but not in a good way because as more rumors, reports come out surrounding the multi-time MVP, it seems more and more unlikely that the Heat are ultimately going to have a chance to acquire Antetokounmpo via trade this offseason with the Milwaukee Bucks. Before we talk about everything new with Giannis, I want to tell the people I will be live, not on the channel, but on a different channel here at Chat Sports. So make sure you subscribe to our Chat Sports channel and join me today for the NBA lottery. We'll see the top 14 picks be announced in order at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be live at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Central Time. So join me over at Chat Sports to break down the NBA lottery and the NBA draft. Let's get into the Giannis Antetokounmpo rumors because Shams Charania started them early on Monday morning with this report that two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo has not made a firm decision on his future, but for the first time in his career, he is open-minded about playing somewhere else, whether it's to win a championship, best fit, blah, 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 blah. Either way, the writing is on the wall for Antetokounmpo to ultimately request a trade and be dealt this offseason. Now, it is kind of wild that we might see both Luka Doncic and Giannis traded from their respective teams in a calendar year. Who would have ever thought that? But when you see that report from Shams come out about the first time in his career he's open-minded to playing elsewhere, that is like the first domino to fall. The Bucks have no future. Their roster is in a terrible spot, especially with Damian Lillard basically being out next season due to that torn Achilles at his age. Like, they have no controllable first-round picks other than one in the next, 8 years. The Bucks organization is in a bad spot if they want to build around Giannis. So I think Antetokounmpo ultimately will ask out this offseason, and the Bucks will have to just do a firm reset on their current build. And the early teams mentioned with Giannis are no surprise. The San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, and Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Spurs and Rockets were both directly mentioned by ESPN's Brian Windhorst after Shams had the initial report this morning. And then post columnist Eric Lewis, I believe his name was the one who reported that the Nets are waiting to pounce on a potential Giannis Antetokounmpo trade. But there has been no linkage by national media between Giannis and the Miami Heat. And that is what I've been saying almost consistently, as we have made a couple of videos since the offseason begun for Miami about Giannis coming to Miami potentially. I just personally do not see a world where the Heat ultimately acquire Giannis unless he pulls a Damian Lillard and requests a trade specifically to the Miami Heat. And as we saw with the Dame saga, that does not even guarantee you that player actually being dealt to your team. So unless Giannis puts Miami on the list, it's not going to happen. If it's open season, Miami's probably not going to be able to acquire him due to being outbid and not really being in a spot where maybe he adds to the roster and you become a championship team. But what do you say? What do you believe in terms of agreeing with me, disagreeing with me? Do the Heat have any chance at a Giannis trade this offseason? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Well, it feels like the only way the Heat can actually trade for Giannis is if they send one of Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo. I don't think this should shock anyone. The Heat have two players under the age of 28 on their roster that are all-star caliber guys. We saw it last season with Hero. Bam's a multi-time all-star. Well, ESPN's Dave McMenamin said on the Rich Eisen show that the only way the Heat have a chance to acquire Antetokounmpo via trade is if the Bucks front office, if the Bucks GM covets Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo, like Nico Harrison the Mavs did for Anthony Davis. Because when you're trading away a player of Luka Doncic's caliber, Antetokounmpo's caliber, you should be receiving young players that have the potential to be an all-star or an all-NBA guy, and at minimum, 5 or 6 first-round picks. And that's just the truth here. Well, Miami only has 3 tradable firsts right now. And yeah, they can give them a youngish all-star guy with it's either Hero or Bam. But for their package to beat an OKC's, a Brooklyn's, a Houston's, a San Antonio's, the Bucks organization has to think of Hero or Bam, either one, at a higher level than those other assets that can be offered from those teams that I just mentioned. So we've shown this before, but we have multiple different trade ideas for Antetokounmpo, one for Bam, one for Tyler Hero. If the Heat traded Bam for Giannis, this is what I think a trade would look like. It would be Adebayo, Jaquez, Duncan Robinson, and the max amount of first-round picks that he can offer, which is 3 right now. The 20th pick in the draft this year, 2030 unprotected, and then 2032 unprotected. That becomes available to trade on draft night. If you were to trade Tyler Hero, it's similar, but just slightly more on your end. Still the same first-round picks, still Jaquez, still Hero/Bam, but because Hero is not on the same tier of Adebayo in terms of value around the league, I believe that you would have to entice the Bucks with adding in Nikola Jovic as well. That was not in that package with Bam Adebayo. It's a similar deal, but just because I think Hero is slightly lower in terms of trade value around the league than Adebayo, you would have to attach another younger player like Nikola Jovic. You would have known about these trade ideas if you watched our video last week talking about Antetokounmpo to Miami and trade ideas for the Heat, which is why you need to subscribe to the channel. We're 48 subscribers away from 22,400. Hit that sub button today for daily Heat content in the offseason and to join the largest Heat YouTube channel there is. I'll say this when it comes to Giannis joining Miami. Maybe y'all disagree, and you probably will because the comment section is much lower on Bam Adebayo than I am in terms of long-term and able to help a team win a championship. But if I'm being real here, folks, the only way that Giannis is going to put Miami on his destination list if he requests a trade is to come here and play with Adebayo. People around the league respect Bam to the highest degree. And some of you don't understand that. And I'm sorry that you don't. And I get the concerns and annoyances with Bam's game and the not consistent offensive effort and production. But players want to play with him due to his unselfishness, his leadership, and his defensive ability. So if you're trading for Giannis, you have a very small window of him having to request you getting the Bucks to like a Hero-led package, and then it ultimately coming to fruition and you not getting outbid from another team. And it's worth it, man. Like, I know people talk about not wanting to trade Hero or Bam for a player like Antetokounmpo, but like he is that good. He is a franchise changer. He's just 30 years old. He's got at least 5 years left of dominant play. We'll see how he ultimately ends his career due to the fact that he does rely on athleticism a little bit to beat you, but he is such a physical freak that he is continuing to refine his game. I think he might be able to play into his late 30s better than I once have anticipated. So Antetokounmpo, who is a top 3 player in the league, you can debate in any order of Jokic, SGA, and Giannis, but those are the top 3 without a question. And I know that we've seen this in the past for Miami. Look at 2022. Really, and that's the year that always strikes to me. I'll be honest, as good as Giannis is, there should be no quote-unquote waiting game for Giannis this offseason. There just should be none because it's so unrealistic that if the Heat have a way to upgrade the roster by keeping Bam and Hero on it, they should take it instead of waiting for a potential Giannis trade. We saw in 2022. Now, who knows if Miami ultimately was going to be able to acquire Donovan Mitchell? But what did the front office do? Both Katie and D-Mitch were available that offseason. Katie ultimately didn't get traded, but Riley waited to see if he could wait out Brooklyn to get Durant. That didn't work. Durant returned before being dealt to Phoenix at the deadline, and Donovan Mitchell ultimately went to Cleveland. I think if Riley could do a do-over, he would probably have just went all in and acquired Donovan Mitchell to pair with Jimmy and Bam at the time to help them win a championship. So that's like the thing here. And could see that potentially here again. Both Kevin Durant and Giannis could be traded this offseason. But if you have the ability to acquire KD for the cheap, for the low, pair him up with Hero and Bam, I would rather do that than sit here and wait to see if we have a 10% chance at Giannis. That's just kind of my thoughts on that matter. Make sure you do get your Miami Heat shirts on sale right now at chatsports.com/Heat shirt. Like this little simple black tee, Heat basketball, the logo, the basketball, little Heat signs there. On sale, too. $21 off. Sizes are running out. Only got small through 2X right now, so triple X and quad X are gone. Get yours today, chatsports.com/Heat shirt. Links in the description and comments of today's video. Now, after being a little bit of a negative Nick here on the first half of the show in terms of acquiring Giannis, there is a small glimmer of hope potentially. Potentially, I'll say. Because according to Sam Amico, he had reported today that Giannis allegedly has been intrigued by the idea of playing in a state with no state income tax. I mean, obviously everyone would be because that's just more money in your own pocket. Well, good news for Heat fans. If you didn't know this, you probably do though. Florida has no state income tax. But you know what other state doesn't have state income tax? The one that I personally live in, Texas. You know what two teams play in Texas that have been on the Giannis list before and have better assets? Yeah, I'll see you in Houston or San Antonio. I don't want to get the Heat fans' hopes up, and I am not going to act like there's really even a chance Miami gets Giannis. Do I think they have a competitive offer? I do, because I think Bam and 3 first-round picks are fair for Antetokounmpo. But San Antonio and Houston are built better to trade for him, keep their core intact, and be able to compete for a championship next season. I'm unsure that Miami would be able to compete for a title with one of Hero or Bam, Giannis, and whatever players they have left. If you're the Rockets, you can offer 5 first-round picks. You can offer young talent like Alperen Şengün, Amen Thompson, Jalen Green, Reed Shepard, Jabari Smith. Not all of them, but a couple of them. And in San Antonio, could offer Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, 4 or 5 first-round picks alongside Devin Vassell or Stephon Castle. Like, those two just have way better assets. You could pair them up with players to win now in a conference, the West, that is kind of declining with the top-tier talent being older in age. Nuggets continue to get older. LeBron, Steph Curry, the Warriors. So you see the pathway for one of those two Texas teams to get Antetokounmpo, if we're going to be honest. I don't think there's a lot of chance that Miami gets him. But it's prediction time, folks. Where does Giannis ultimately get traded? This doesn't have to be a question to the Heat. Like, if you think he goes to Houston, thinks he goes to Houston. If I had to make my prediction right now, I think it's San Antonio. I do, because I think they could trade multiple first-round picks. They have 2 picks in the lottery this year. They can trade Castle, they can trade Vassell, and they can just make a big 3 of Fox, Giannis, and Wemby and be a super team in the West. So I'm picking the Spurs to be the team that trades for Giannis. But the Rockets are a team that's interested, and this could have an added benefit to Miami, which is how we will close the show. Because the reports out there are that Kevin Durant is interested in being traded to the Rockets. He also allegedly, according to Stein and others out there, could be interested in being traded to the Heat. Well, the reports actually are, though, from Rockets beat reporters and others, that Houston doesn't really have that much interest in trading young core pieces and picks for KD because of his age and not being on the same timetable as Green, Şengün, Thompson, and the rest of their young core. So if Houston is going all in for Giannis or not interested in Durant, this will help Miami in their pursuit of KD, assuming that they ultimately do. To me, when we talk about where KD might actually end up, because he will not be playing on the Phoenix Suns next year, and I will guarantee that, it would likely be between, at least right now, we'll see if this changes, between the Heat and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, the T-Wolves are likely going to make it to the Western Conference Finals. Like, they could make it to the finals this year. We'll see if that sparks them to move over for KD or just say, hold on, we'll try to bring people back. But we know Miami's going to be interested. And we've shown this trade offer before. But this is what I would offer for Durant this offseason, because he will be 37 in September. He is up for a contract extension, 2 years, $120 million. Only has 1 year left on his deal, so you'd have to trade for him and then extend him for ages 37, 38, and 39, and that's scary. I'm giving you Wiggins for salary. Jaquez is that youngish piece. Duncan to help match salary. And the most picks I'm offering is 2 first-rounders. I'll offer 2030, top 10 protected, and I'll offer you the 20th pick in this NBA draft. But I'm not offering anything else. This is the highest I will go. Maybe, and just maybe, I could be convinced to do Jovic instead of Jaquez. But the truth is, with his age, the lack of teams that are that interested in Durant, I think you could acquire him for cheap. Now, if you told me the Heat could offer Jovic instead of Jaquez, but they offer only 1 first-round pick instead of 2, I would be much more inclined to probably do that due to Jovic being up for a contract extension soon. So to me, I think you could get KD for the cheap. And I know I've said that you're going to have to come with a strong offer, but we're starting to see some teams kind of get weeded out of the Durant sweepstakes, which is only beneficial to the Heat at this point in the offseason. And we will continue to have you covered every day of the offseason with Miami Heat content. So subscribe today for the best on YouTube.